Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Right Take Gen Z Politics. So today we are going to delve a little deeper into the situation going on with ICE right now. And for a little throwback to our first episode, sadly, we are going to get back to Iran a little bit now that things are sparking up a little bit again with Iran since June of 2025 about. So, before we get started with this episode, I just want to make some clarifications about my last episode. So, my last episode, I did state that, I believe it was my last episode, but I did state that some wars are okay and sometimes we need to intervene, like in cases like Venezuela and Greenland. And in an episode before that, I did talk about how there are wars that we should not be in and that we should cut down on our foreign aid to certain countries. I fully agree with both those points, and they both do coincide with each other. America should not be involved in any bloody, long wars that will serve us no strategic value. For short wars that we know we can win, and that we could win without a lot of casualties, and that do have important to us, that's completely different than these other 20-year long wars like Afghanistan and Iraq and places like them where we do not need to be there and it only hurts our military. But anyway, getting right into the episode, we are just going to start off with ICE. So I believe since the last time I made an episode, there was no story about Alex Preddy. I'm pretty sure that's how you say his name. I did talk about Renee Good a little bit because she was the most recent martyr of the liberals. But I believe Alex Preddy was still alive at that time, so there wasn't much to talk about him. But now that he has, passed away, we should talk a little bit about him. It has been a couple weeks though, so it's died down a little bit. But this guy, he was not just a normal person, he was not just a normal nurse. He was a stalker of ICE who participated in group chats who were made to stalk ICE, like finding their license plates and things like that. And there was actually a video leaked of him, I'm sure you might have saw it, 11 days before he was shot, where he was actively and aggressively engaging with ICE officers while they were in their car. And he actually ended up kicking out their taillight. Kicking it out. Like, I mean, there's no other way to explain that. He kicked their taillight repeatedly and actually broke it. It was like hanging out of the car. And then they got out and they tackled him on the ground. That should have been his, hey, what you're doing is stupid and something bad's gonna happen to you. Let's just say that. That should have been his warning. And he didn't seem to take it because at least once, he was back 11 days later, at least one time. Who knows if there's other ICE protests between them that hasn't been released or hasn't been recorded. But then he intervenes in between two ICE officers trying to do their job. He gets right in between them during a conflict. And he has a gun on him. A loaded gun. And he also had more magazines in his car, but that's for a later discussion. We'll talk about that later. But he had a gun on him in his waistband, and he was armed at this protest. And I do see a lot of liberals saying Second Amendment. And yes, I love the Second Amendment. I do believe that there needs to be some restrictions on guns. I'm not like a super duper Second Amendment guy, like in terms of like you should be able to own bazookas. I don't agree with that. But liberals and the left are trying to use the Second Amendment against us now. And they're saying that we're switching our stories. There's a difference between carrying around a gun in your house or using a gun against a robber to protect yourself, rather than going to a protest, if you even can call it a protest because of what they were doing, and having a gun just right in your waistband, ready for you to just take out. Especially if you're getting aggressive with the officers. How do you think they're going to take that if you have a gun in your side? They're going to take it as a threat. Now, what happened after that? There are people saying that he was disarmed and then they shot him. I'm still not fully sure on if that's true or not. If it is true, then yeah, okay. He definitely should not have been shot, and that was definitely wrong of the ICE officer, if that is true. And if he was disarmed and then they shot him. There definitely could have been better ways to handle that. I will say that. I will turn my tone down a little bit just for that matter. Because if he was unarmed, you should not shoot him and kill him and not shoot him 10 times. But you gotta remember, these ICE officers are humans too. Once again, not condoning his death, not condoning him getting shot if he was unarmed. But these people are humans too with real fears. If they have a guy coming up to them with a gun in his pocket, they're going to be scared. They're going to be afraid. Once again, humans, just like us. And that's the truth. Whether you like them or not, whether you hate them, whether you wish they're dead, they're still human beings. They were still born as a baby and grew up. And this is just the profession they chose, whether you like it or hate it. But they're human beings with real emotions, real thoughts, real consciousness. And if somebody pulls a gun on you, your natural reaction, your natural human reaction is to be scared. There's plenty of incidents with cops shooting somebody with what they saw was a gun, what they thought was a gun. Like, they could, like, pull something out of their pocket. And you're allowed... Well, okay. You can shoot somebody if you believe that they do have a weapon. And it seems that that is what happened. And it's a sad thing that he didn't have the weapon anymore. They disarmed him. This all happened in a few seconds. And it's a lot to get into and it's crazy. But my general idea is that it was sad that he got shot. He shouldn't have got shot. But he should not be aggressively engaging with ICE officers with a gun in his pocket. And another thing with Alex Pretty, while we were still on him, there's been a photo circulating of him. I'll show it right over here somewhere. It's an AI photo of him that makes him look a lot better. For people my age, they're making him looks max. They're looks maxing him. But basically what that means is they're using AI to make him look better. Like, make him more handsome, I guess you could say. To gain more sympathy for him. And that's just weird to think about. You hear me, like, trying to comprehend these words right now because this stuff is just unbelievable what the media is doing to portray this as an execution. What they are doing to portray this as an execution. Going to AI photos, which have been proven false, and they still use them, by the way. Proven fake. Clear AI. Not even close to it, dude. Dude's, like, ugly as hell in real life. And they make him look like a god, like Neptune. It's just really crazy to see. And the fact that that guy is who they are making a martyr, it's just really sad for the left. If that guy is a hero for them, then what does just the average leftist look like? If that guy is like a saint to them, who's a role model, who's a martyr, who they also look up to, then, like, what is your average leftist? What is your average leftist? I just believe that is absolutely insane. And now Trump is pulling troops out of Minnesota. Now they're going out of Minnesota. Well, let's get into the restrictions a little bit more. Things that ICE officers should do and should not do. We'll get into what they shouldn't do. Leave Minnesota. This is where these Somalians are getting millions, if not billions, from daycares and other child help centers, things like that, autistic centers. Millions, if not billions of dollars from taxpayer money. Minnesota is the prime time of where they need to be. If they don't go anywhere else, they need to go to Minnesota. If they don't go anywhere else, Minnesota is your goal. The fight for a safe and trustworthy America lies in the hands of these deportations. Because if we do not deport these people, it's an amnesty. And we're giving them all amnesty. And you know what that's going to do? Not only are they, of course, obviously going to stay here, but they're going to attract their friends, their fellow Somalian brothers, their fellow Guatemalan brethren. And they're all going to start flowing in knowing they aren't going to get deported. Knowing Trump's promises are not what he said they are. Get back in Minnesota and get rid of these guys. You know what? For every five every five illegals you deport, you might lose 2 voters. But you know what? 4 out of those 5 people that you're deporting are probably voting illegally in these elections. So really, you're not losing any votes. You're not losing any support. Because a lot of these illegals are voting in these elections. And don't try to fact check me on that. Because there's almost no way of knowing that this is the case. And a more thing with that, with electoral votes, once again, that's even more foolproof. You can't figure that out unless you go door to door figuring out people's citizenships. A lot of illegals are being counted, if not all of them, are being counted in the census. And you know what that does, since these guys are mostly in Democratic states? It boosts their electoral votes. It boosts their House representation. Those are major, especially the House part, if you think about it. With our slim majority, that's major. I've heard that Minnesota has actually lost an electoral vote just because of the amount of illegals that they've deported. Think about that. These illegals are actually increasing the electoral vote of a state like Minnesota, which hasn't voted Republican since 1972. What? What is going on? What is going on? Why are they being counted? Why haven't we done anything to stop this until now? But back onto topic, Trump needs to follow through with these deportations. He needs to follow through. There are 30 million plus illegals in our country. Plus. And what are we doing? The truth is, get this, not much. We are not doing much. Because these guys are still here. These guys are still chilling in our towns. Buying our houses. Taking up our jobs. Taking up our school education funds. They ain't going back to Mexico. They ain't going back to Venezuela, Colombia, Nicaragua. Where are they going? They're going right here in America, right in our cities, right in New Jersey, right in California and Texas, Minnesota. And what are they doing? They're stealing our stuff. They're stealing our money. They're stealing our taxpayer dollars. And what is everybody doing about it? Squat. We're doing nothing about it. We are doing nothing about this. And what are we going to do in the future when our country is just full of immigrants, illegal immigrants, mainly? What are we going to do when it's 40% illegals in this country? Like, the population is just all illegals or the descendants of illegals. It's a takeover. It is a takeover, and that is the truth. Okay? This is a takeover of our nation by people who do not belong here, by criminals. This is a criminal takeover. And we need to fight it. We need to fight it like hell. Or else we're all going down. Or else we are all going down. This is our last stand. These next few years, these next few elections are our last stand. Whether America is a country of Americans or a country of illegals. Which do you want it to be? Now, if you're leftist, you'll probably say, oh, the illegals, who cares? You see the Grammys? Billie Eilish, nobody's illegal on stolen land. Shut up. You're a loser. You're a dork. Shut up. Nobody's legal on stolen land. Nobody's legal on stolen land. F ICE. Oh my gosh, I'm so cool. Billie Eilish, you haven't been cool since 2020, bro. You have not been cool since 2020. Nobody even knows. I don't even know how you won anything at the Grammys. Let's be honest. Nobody even knows any song you've produced since Bad Guy. Bad Guy was like your one-hit wonder. And then after that, all you have is like the little fangirls who are more liberal than you. And have you seen the Native Americans? The Native American tribe? Not that I don't believe in any of this. I don't believe in this. Listen, we bought and conquered this land. This land is ours. It was not stolen. We bought and conquered it. The Native Americans lost, and that's how war goes. That's how land acquisition goes. And for the land that we didn't conquer, once again, we bought Manhattan. This is our land. This is not the Native Americans' land. We have their reservations for them. They can stay there, or they can integrate into society. It's their choice. We're in the modern day. We're in the 21st century. But if you do want to look at their side a little bit, okay? I believe it was a tweet. I don't know if it was a tweet, but from this Native American tribe that is originally from where Billie Eilish's house is, like they lived on that land. They were like trolling her, saying like that she should give up their land if she cares that this is all stolen land. Then like give them their land back. Let them live in their house then. Let those natives that were there originally live in their multi-million dollar mansion. I think it's like $17 million mansion. So what is she talking about? And this is just a stupidity that's just engulfing our country. The Grammys are political now. I heard that the Super Bowl with Bad Bunny. I'm hearing people saying he's going to get political and the wrong way political. Everything's just politics now. And in some ways that's good, but not when it's this idiotic liberal politics that helps nobody except for the people that hate us, hate the American citizens, and hate our country. Hate the United States of America. So the truth is, are we going to let this stand? Are we just going to let them hate us and then take us over? Hate us and then just get rid of us and never stop hating us, and then just, our land's theirs. Are we going to let that happen, or are we going to fight for what our ancestors fought for what our ancestors conquered, for what our ancestors bought, for the principles of a free market and for capitalism, for the millions of people who built and founded this country, who financed this country and made this country what it is today? Are we just going to sit back and watch ourselves get taken over? What are we going to do? Okay? What are we going to do? Is this the country that you knew growing up? Now, as I'm young, sadly it kind of is, although it was never this bad up until COVID. From when I was born until 2019 and the months before COVID, life was great, okay, in terms of politics. For the most part, at least, life was great. Once, the 2017 started coming around, it started getting there. But it wasn't until COVID that the world turned to crap. It wasn't until COVID that the world turned into a leftist piece of garbage. For the most part. And we just see the effect on society that it's had over these recent years. We go to the UK with the Labour Party with their supermajority that they're going to lose as long as Reform UK keeps their momentum. They're literally being taken over by migrants. London is, I believe, about a third white now, and the rest is Muslims and illegal immigrants. And this is happening in many other cities, and even just regular areas in London. In England. It's getting really bad there. Really, really bad. And that is why Reform is all the way up in the polls. If you see Reform's here, which is, by the way, basically MAGA in the UK, the British version of MAGA, you got the Conservative Party. The Conservative Party is actually like here, and you got like Labour. And they're just so high up. But they need to keep their momentum at least until May, because May is their local elections. But we got to focus on the UK. We got to focus on the USA here. See the hat. Make America great again. It's not make Britain great again, although, that would help. But we see what's happening in America, and a lot of people just sit and let it go. And this is not for letting it go. We're not Elsa, okay? We're not letting it go. We're keeping our values, and we're keeping our faith. And we need to restore America to Christian and patriotic values. Because that is what our ancestors died for in wars. That is what our ancestors fought for on the streets, advocated for, voted in elections for. Ronald Reagan, Richard Nixon. I could give plenty more examples than that. Calvin Coolidge, Dwight Eisenhower. I said Ronald Reagan, but you get the point. George H.W. Bush, George W. Bush, Donald J. Trump. This is what our ancestors, this is what our family and friends voted for. Okay? And we could not let the liberals and the leftists take over just because they say so. No, that's not how it works. Listen, I get harassed in school for my opinions all the time. All the time. But you gotta stay through. You gotta be nice. Always be respectful. Because, once again, everybody's a person. They're people too, of course. But they're wrong. And that's just the truth of it. And whether they realize that or not, we can help them. But in the end, it's on them to realize it. We can't force them to. Because in the heart, unless they change themselves, they're always going to feel a certain way. At least a little bit. But we need to bring about this change. And we need to try to convince these people, the people that we can convince, what's true and what's right. And what's Republican. What's American patriotic values. But we've talked a lot about ICE. We talked about it in the last episode. I've talked about it for a lot of this episode. So let's move on to Iran. Take a little bit of a different tune here. So the Iran war, as you know, there was I believe it was, what was it? Was it 12 days? Was it 14 days? 16 days? Let's just say there was a short war back in June. I had my first episode of this podcast on with a guy named Seth, great guy. We did talk about the Iran war. We talked about the bombing of their nuclear facilities, which I fully support. However, there was all these protests in Iran. They got shut down. The Iranian government actually shut off the military. Excuse me. They did not shut off the military. That would be great. They shut off the internet. Could you imagine if they did that in America? Just shut off the internet? But they shut off the internet. And they blocked basically any access to the outside world. And, I mean, I guess it helped call the protests. But it worked for them. So, but that's just horrible. But the protests are over for the most part. That was just a little fad going on, I guess. But there's been a lot of escalating tensions since these protests with Iran. There's been a lot of destroyers coming to the Iranian coast. There was I believe the USS Abraham Lincoln, an aircraft carrier that came to the Iranian coast. And they were planning military strike. They've been potentially planning ground operations with troops on the floor of Iran. And obviously that's a huge step from just bombing their nuclear sites. Listen, Iran is a big country. They have, I believe, 90 million people. And they're very big. Like, very big. It's hard to tell on a map because of how, maps with their scaling issues. But Iran is a big country. Very mountainous, too. That's another thing. And a lot of desert. To invade a country like that, to actually successfully take over a country like that, takes a whole lot of willpower. A whole lot of manpower. A whole lot of strength. And most importantly, and I guess worstly, a whole lot of time. And that is what we do not need. We do not need another long, costly war with Iran. Although, I do wish that the regime changed. I do wish that the Shah came back, get the Persian monarchy back, or democracy. Either one would be great. Better than the current Ayatollah regime. I don't believe we should spend 30 years just to potentially make that happen. And I think 99% of Americans can agree with that. Now listen, if we can do like a Maduro style, which I highlight out once again, a lot more populated country, richer country, a lot bigger country, different whole political, geo-economic climate. But if we could just do that, just like take out the leaders and just plop in new ones, that would be great. I would fully support that. The issue is that's not happening. That's not gonna happen. In order for regime change, we either have to go from up down or down up. Either these protests need to come back bigger than ever, or we got to go in on ground and forcibly remove the government. And the military too, which would be a whole nother issue. You got a 1 million man army. A much bigger issue than Venezuela in that matter too. But I just do not see a valid way, at least right now, for us to take over Iran. So anything less than that isn't worth it. And not even just not worth it, it will bad. Bad for our country, bad for our nation, bad for our troops. Do you want your brother, your cousin to go die in Iran? Do you want them to go die in the mountains of Iran? To Ayatollah supporters? No. Nobody wants that. And if you do, then you gotta think again, because what are you doing? What are you thinking? Are you thinking anything? Is there anything up there? Once again, as I stated in my previous podcast episode, As I stated in my previous podcast episodes, and earlier in this episode, pointless, long, grueling wars is not the American way. It's not something that is America first, that we should be fighting for. No. An overthrowing of the Iranian regime, although technically would be good for American interests, the way that we would have to get to it would overall harm us and our relationship with the rest of the world much more than the positive effects of a new regime in Iran. And you have to think about it that way. Because you might think that it's great, but you have to think about it that way. Are the means worth the ends? And in this case, I believe they are not worth the ends. And once again, that is just the truth of the matter. It's all about the truth, okay? The truth is the most important thing in politics. Because if you don't know the truth, then you're living a lie. If you do not know the truth of what these politicians are telling you, then you're a mule. Then you're a little slave to them. And no matter who you are, no matter what race you are, no matter what gender you are, no matter your political beliefs, you need to know the truth. And if you don't know the truth, then you don't know anything. If you do not know the truth, then everything you know could be a lie. The truth will set us free. Have you ever seen that line from Liar Liar? The truth will set you free. Well, that's the truth. That's the truth, okay? That is the truth. We are told a lot of lies in the world that we currently live in. A whole lot of lies. More than you probably even realize. Much more than you probably realize. Okay? Much more. Probably about 5,172 lies. And that's a lie, because how would I get that number? That's a lie right there. It's so easy to just lie in this world. And in a world full of lies, the truth will always stand out. It will always be the most important thing. So if you don't look for the truth, if you can't find the truth, then what you believe could all just be a lie. If the truth is not there within you. Now, I make that point heavily because a lot of people believe misinformation. See, read, hear misinformation. And it misguides a lot of people. And being misguided in this scenario, in this world, it could be a death sentence. Like Alex Preddy and Renee Good. They were a mule, they were a donkey, a sheep. They were sheep to the false lies that the media spreads, and they're dead because of it. 2 people are dead. 2 American citizens are dead because they believe the lies of the evil media. The evil media, okay? The press, all the press cares about is money. They care about clicks and views and watch time. They don't care about you. They do not care about you. They don't care about you. You are being fed lies every day of your life. You are being fed lies. The mainstream populace is being fed lies every day of their life. And they don't even realize it. Or they just blatantly disregard this. Because they just don't care. Care! You need to care about this. This is life and death. This absolutely can be life and death for you. So many people are dying in this world. In school shootings. In mass shootings. In executions. Charlie Kirk. The National Guard members that were shot. Renee Good and Alex Preddy. You could die. You could die or kill somebody because you aren't getting the truth. You aren't getting their real story. Listen, do your own research. Think logically, not just on emotions or ethics. Think logically. What are you doing? Now, I know this isn't everybody. I know probably most of the people watching this podcast are probably even smart, even better than me. But for anybody who isn't, for anybody that you know isn't, for your liberal mother-in-law, for your liberal friend, you're gonna get destroyed. Or you're gonna destroy somebody. And you're gonna go to jail for that. But my point still stands. That the truth is needed. Or else, what are you? What is this? What is society? What is society when it's all lies? Is it even a true society anymore? A functional society? Get that word into your head. Truth. True. Truth. True. Truth. True. Truth. Get it into your head. Get rid of the lies. Lying is a sin. Lying is everywhere. People are sinners. People are evil people. And they lie. Get your facts straight. Even on the right, people lie. People post fake stories, fake news. Even on the right. The center, left, and right. It's all lies a lot of the time. Not always, but a lot of the time. It's all lies or partially lies or fabricated, exaggerated, whatever the word you want. Find the truth. Find the truth. Find the truth about ICE. Find the truth about the situations in Iran. If you believe idiotic, opinions, then you will be an idiot. If you believe stupid opinions, then you will be a stupid person. Find out the truth. We need ICE to save America from these people that want to take us over. And we need to not die in Iran so we don't lose more Americans there that are already getting taken over on our mainland. We don't need pointless wars, and we don't need illegal immigrants. I mean, that's pretty easy to comprehend, right? That's not like you don't need a doctor to comprehend that. It's one sentence. No pointless wars, no illegal immigrants. That'll solve so many problems in America and even around the world if the world applies that. That'll solve genuinely so many problems. Just that simple fact. Obviously, there's a lot more issues in this world, but those two are very, very sincere. Those two can actually help big time in real time. I want you to think about that. Whether you understood anything I said in the episode, anything that you did understand, I want you to think about it. And I want you to realize, are you being told the full truth? From any side, are you being told the full truth? And what is the truth? Find the truth. Tell people the truth. Don't tell them lies. Don't tell them lies, or you're just as bad as them for believing it. Tell them the truth. Find it and spread it. There's only one truth. I don't believe that there can be multiple truths. I mean, obviously. There's one truth to every scenario. In the end, if you go down logically, there's one truth to every scenario. Find that truth. Find that whole truth. I would like to thank you so much for watching this episode. And I hope I meant at least a little something to you, no matter what side of the political aisle you are on. I hope at least something hit you in a good way. Hopefully it won't be an ICE agent if you're going out on the street protesting. But seriously, I would like to thank you for watching The Right Take, Gen Z Politics, and I hope you have a wonderful night.